Thank you. Delighted to be back with our friends and comrades at IDEA. Thank you, Frank, for inviting me. This is really short, 8 minutes, but let me just start and get straight into the questions that we are discussing. And I must say, Alish, the summary from yesterday was powerful and very helpful for me to build on and probably take some of those points further. We are discussing 21, but it's been an absolutely devastating year. It is an absolutely unprecedented year. And certainly in India, we were hit by the COVID wave in a way which we've not experienced globally. And I just have two pictures for you, which will give you what was happening here. The country completely collapsed. 1 billion people collapsed. This is one picture you see of people literally not being able to get oxygen inside the hospitals. But they are fortunate. They did get oxygen, at least in the car park. But we lost, according to probably all estimates, more than 1 million people. And people were literally dying on the streets, dying, waiting at the car parks, waiting at the hospital lobby, not being able to get a hospital bed or oxygen or the basic medicines. It's been a very, very tough time for all of us. And you know, I think what's important, what I wanted to say is that, and this is another picture of mass cremations happening. I wanted to say that what we saw was still deaths were not because of COVID. Probably some of them were because of COVID and the virus. It was more because we were our health system was overwhelmed. We were not able to even provide basic oxygen. And then this has had a double whammy. On the one hand, people dying of COVID. And on the other hand, there are estimates which are saying almost 250 million people have either already or are sliding back into below poverty. And this picture is again, probably signifies that. So this has been such a heart-wrenching time for all of us. But what I wanted to say is that this is also the time when we were looking at another story unfolding. And that story is just to take from our Oxfam report. I want to give you two data points. One, that just during the pandemic, the top 10 billionaires added $500 billion to their wealth, $500 billion. And on the other hand, poor across the world slided into poverty. They found it extremely difficult to even get bread onto their table. So this was the stark inequality we were looking at. I just talked of the health system in India, the top 11 billionaires in India, and we are taking 11 because there was a tie at number 10. They gained so much wealth just during the pandemic that they could have supported or funded the entire Indian health ministry for 10 years. That's the level of inequality we're looking at. And I just wanted to, you know, this obscene inequality that we look at is, I think, the real story. And as the Secretary General of UN said, and I really liked his phrase, that COVID has been like an X-ray, which has exposed the inequalities we live with, the racism that we live with, the patriarchy that we live with, you know, and that's what COVID has done. So I just wanted to, you know, but COVID is a reminder. It is a reminder of the failure of the systems that we have created. It is a symptom of the systems we have created. But let me just, you know, I think it's very important for us to also bring in one more aspect, because this COVID story, the inequality story, would be incomplete without another dimension that I want to bring in is, or maybe just before that, to situate that, the whole conversation around neoliberalism. I'm glad that it's been discussed, but how the neoliberal model in the last 20, 30 years has actually, post-Washington consensus, has actually increased inequality to mammoth proportions. So that's something I wanted to bring in. But in the last few years, in a decade, we are also living in extremely difficult times. And I'll just give you some names and you'll get my story because I have only 8 minutes. Starting from Bolsonaro to Erdogan, to Modi, to Duterte, to Trump. Fortunately, at least this year, we have seen the back of Trump. But this is what we are facing. I think this is a massive challenge. The post-World War consensus around, say, UDHR. I think UDHR was probably the most important document for many of us. And the normative framework of what the world should look like is clearly reflected in that UDHR. That's in shambles. What we are seeing is populism, demagoguery, shrinking of the civic space, huge assault on human rights. So that's the context we are living in. And I wanted to bring that also because COVID is so massive that in the last 1 year, we've not adequately talked about it. But I think without discussing this, we'll not be able to get out of the place where we are in. So I just wanted to say this is very clear with both these two big, one on the hand, COVID, which is, as I'm saying, a symptom of the systems that we have created, of neoliberalism, and now this complete breakdown of the normative consensus also is clear, making it clear for us that we need to reboot ourselves. And that rebooting is the path ahead I wanted to talk of. And in that, I would say that there are 4 things I just wanted to, and I'll be fairly quick. I know my time is limited, but complete reboot of economy and society. And particularly for the idea of global citizenship, the idea for a group like IDEA is critical. So let me just say 4 things. One, but just a context that global citizenship needs to be brought back to the idea of citizenship, which is in the context of democracy, of liberal values, of pluralism, without which it will not work. 4 specific ideas. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to make it faster. First, I do think that we have done a disservice by not linking development adequately with politics. I would say development has to be seen as part of politics, not the other way around. I feel hugely uncomfortable, and that's a challenge to all of us. Moving ahead, politics is development. These are not 2 different streams. We'll have to see that as integrated. The second, we will need to look at fundamentally challenging the idea of what is development. Development built on exploitation of Mother Earth, of unjust orders, is not all right. We need to, the climate change is telling us, it's not going to work, it's not sustainable. We need to fundamentally relook at small is beautiful, and there could be several alternatives. Third, I think markets are something that we have let go of rather comfortably. We engage with the state, but we don't adequately challenge the markets. Markets need to be held accountable. They need to function with not, capitalism the way it is. At least they need to move to stakeholder capitalism. And just finally, I realize that my time is up. So just finally, we'll need to go back not just to the values of global citizenship in terms of looking at equality and freedom, but I think we did not invest enough time on fraternity and justice. So I would say these are the third, fourth pillar, which we have third pillar openly talked of fraternity, but we have not done that. Fraternity and justice have to be the cornerstone of moving ahead. Thank you.